With visittanzania4less.com, you can celebrate Christmas in the Serengeti and New Year's Eve in Zanzibar with our holiday special. This 9-day adventure through Tanzania's stunning landscapes covers the Serengeti, Crater Tour, and Zanzibar's beaches. Enjoy an unforgettable New Year's Eve party and explore Dar es Salaam, East Africa's largest city. Worried about your budget? Our preferred travel agency, iButterfly Travel, can help finance your dream trip. Contact them at 844-423-5983. Start 2024 on a high note with a unique Tanzanian experience. Call iButterfly Travel today at 844-423-5983 or email visittanzania4less@gmail.com. Reserve your dream vacation with a 30% deposit. Spend Christmas in the Serengeti and New Year's Eve in Zanzibar. If not now, then when?
All right, beautiful people. Welcome to the show. Glad to be back. Big Rob, how you doing today, sir?
I'm fine, sir. And you?
Making it, surviving, man.
Good. That's good.
I got to send big ups to my people at blacknews.com. Back on Friday, October the 27th, they did a story about a black woman makes history reuniting 8,400 fatherless kids with their biological dead. And I couldn't reach Janae fast enough to schedule this interview. I like, well, as soon as I get back in the United States, this is the first person I want to interview. And so,
yes, sir,
to have the brainchild behind this, an amazing achievement. We want to welcome to the show Dr. Torri J. Evans-Barton, the lady behind this massive movement. How you doing today, my queen sister?
I am well. With that introduction, I don't know what I'm gonna do with myself.
that is amazing. Like, what? Like, really?
Yeah, that's wonderful.
8,400, and I know this didn't happen overnight. So you've been putting time in.
Yes. No, this did not happen overnight. And I said to you when we were just preparing, you know, I'm a Michigan girl. I know this is out of Muskegon. And so you guys are talking to one of your own homegrown who came out of Kalamazoo, born and raised, even went to University of Michigan, and then migrated to Atlanta to go to Emory University. So I am a homegrown Michigan girl doing this work.
Wow, and how small the world is. Kanika Star Reynolds, which I saw in the airport last night.
I was going to text her.
When I arrived last night, she was the person I saw in the airport when I'm getting ready, to go get my luggage. She leaving to go to Atlanta. And I'm like, small world. And hi, Kanika. Wow, small world. So, Doc.
That is funny.
It is.
Yeah.
How were you able to reunite 8,400 fatherless kids with their kids?
Well, we first have to acknowledge that God is at the center of all of this, right? We have to acknowledge that. This is not done easily. This is done, I believe, yes, there's tools and there's techniques that we use, but there is a spiritual component that goes along with this. This is something that God desires. So he fights for it. He pushes for it. He puts me in position to ensure that I am able to utilize my own journey, and I'm able to use that in order to help fathers reunite with their children. We do have a 4-phase process, right? So that's the natural component. There's a 4-phase process that we put together. We have experts, and it's holistic. There are individuals from legal representation. There are therapists involved. We have a private investigator on our team. We have a team that we've developed over the last 14 years to do this work. So when you say I've put in the work, I've put in the work. We originally started by doing boys and girls clubs, working with the kids in our peer groups. But there was this place that I knew I wanted to reunite fathers with their children. It was always at the helm. It was always at the heart of what I wanted to do. So I had to really focus on, what does that look like? How did I reunite with my father first? And from there, I developed a 4-phase process that now is it's how we do what we do.
8,400. That's a lot of paperwork. Just alone. That's a lot of footnotes. That's a lot of everything.
You are funny. It is, but we use databases. We went from paper. I have pictures. I was on the Ricky Smiley morning show for 5 years, so that really catapulted us into the national spotlight. And you would see my team. We would set up a call center, and we would have stacks of paper for intake forms where people would be on the call taking notes. And then we eventually went, it's digital now. But yes, it's a lot of paperwork. But originally, we did the paperwork, but now it's digital. People go to a portal, they upload things. The intake forms are all digital at this point. So it's not only just paperwork, right? It's a lot of lives that you get to touch. When you think about 8,400 children, that is 3,200 and what is it? I don't remember. I think 71 fathers or something like that. And so I want to make sure that people understand when we reunite one father with one child, we are changing generations. It's not just those two. It's multiple people are impacted by this. If you think about the Kirk Franklin documentary that many people watch, millions of people watched him reunite with his father. You watch Kirk even circle back to the dysfunctional relationship he had with his first son. And that's what this does. It really helps fathers see some of the mistakes they've made. And let me say this, let me be very clear to the women listening. I am not contacted by children majority of the time. I am not contacted by the mothers majority of the time. It's the fathers who are reaching out to me saying, I was 20, I made a bad decision. Can I rectify this? Can you help me fix this? There are men who are divorced and, well, she thought when we got divorced, I guess I divorced her and the children, so I haven't been able to see my children. There are those moments that exist. Majority of the calls are men calling, wanting to make their wrongs right.
Wow.
That's good to know.
Yeah.
This process, how long do it generally take?
It depends on if a father has court paperwork or he doesn't have court paperwork. We do have an epidemic within our African-American community where we're having a lot of children out of wedlock. And what a lot of African-American men do not know is when you have children out of wedlock, you have zero rights to your children legally. There are no parental rights that exist for you in majority of the states. So you have to do what is called establishing paternity, establishing custody rights, and then child support is there. I like Georgia. A lot of people have a problem with it in Georgia. I do not, because I work all over the country. Georgia, you have to legitimate a child. That term illegitimate child, they've taken it literal in Georgia. So you legitimate your child in what is called a one-stop shop. You legitimate the child, giving the child the ability to inherit from you. You establish your paternal rights. You then get your custody, which is your decision-making power. And then number 4, you get your parenting time, and then child support is included in that.
Okay. Wow. How many states?
Wow.
So
4,800.
Well, I'm in 33 states. We work out of 33 states. So we have 7 offices across the country. And so we work out of 33 states. So it's a lot of manpower. It takes a lot of work. And all of these fathers don't have to go through court. Some of them need to go through mediation. Some of them need to go through counseling. But when they do need to go through court, we are able to get attorneys to do pro bono or low bono work on our behalf, to just do 1 or 2 cases a year for these dads to go through a court case. Because a lot of dads, when they call and say, I want to see my child, but I learned I don't have any rights. They call the attorney and they say, we need $2,500 or $5,000 retainer. They don't have that.
Right.
They don't have that.
Wow.
And so we like to help dads, especially the dads who make $45,000 a year or less. We work with them to ensure that they have access to their children. And that access means custody rights and parenting time. And my push is always to get you as close to 50-50 as possible. So if you get every other weekend, then on those weekends off, or those weekdays that you're off, let me say it this way, the week that you're off, I am then getting you 2 to 3 days in there where you can have time with your child. 6 days a month is not enough time for a man to be a parent.
Yeah.
Now, what is your passion behind doing this? Because you got to have a passion yourself for doing this, and thinking that it was an area that needed somebody like yourself.
Well, I get this is the part that needs to be stated here on this interview. I grew up without my father until I was 31 years old, and I had to come back to Kalamazoo, Michigan to meet my biological father. my bonus mama, who I call her my bonus mama, and my siblings. And so reuniting with my father really showed me, we say things like, well, you can't miss what you never had. Yeah, but once you know what you're missing, you really figure out what you've been missing. And I figured out what I had been missing. And so I realized that fatherlessness was trauma that I wasn't even aware of. Reuniting with my father was truly the open door for me to heal from things that I didn't even know existed on the inside of me. I didn't know that my shyness was really an insecurity because I didn't have a man, speaking into my life and giving me confidence. My mother put me in a lot of great things. I don't believe I would be who I am if it hadn't been for her. But I also recognize the vital, important role that my father played in the 2.5 years that I had with him. He healed places in me and filled voids in me that I didn't even know I had, I didn't even know they existed. Wow. He allowed me to heal from fatherlessness. And I didn't even know it was a problem. A lot of us grow up in these fatherless homes and we don't know it's a problem. We don't realize it's causing trauma. We don't realize it can cause physical and emotional damage and mental health challenges to us. We don't realize all of the statistics associated with it. And we say, well, I overcame that. I wasn't a teenage mom. I wasn't this and that. But are you an overachiever? I was. Because it was kind of like, I'm going to stick it to you. I'm going to show you that I can be all of these things, whether you're here or not. Right? And then overachieving is this place where a lot of us who are from fatherless homes and we're overachievers, we have an imposter syndrome, which a lot of people have heard about now. And so you have to look at your own situation and recognize that there's some dysfunctional behaviors that we have normalized within the African-American community, especially centering around fatherlessness.
Wow. Dr. Torri J. Evans-Barton, our guest for today on the Fatherless Generation Foundation. You're not just in America, but you're in Africa. You're in Zambia, you're in Nigeria, South Africa. Wow. How did you make that happen? You start as an NGO, I'm assuming.
I was speaking at an event at the United Nations in 2019. And there were some individuals from Africa there saying, oh, you need to bring this to Africa. They weren't footing the bill. They were just saying, this is a good idea. Right. And so right after we were talking about it, COVID hits. And so after everything cleared, I was scheduling to go in 2021. And then we had a new wave. And so somehow last year, November 27th, I left the United States going to help a friend in the Netherlands, trekked myself through Europe, and then jumped across and found myself in Lusaka, Zambia. And then I found myself in, and I won't say found, these things were planned and strategic. And where that is my headquarters for my Africa NGO. That is where we're disseminating everything out of Lusaka. We have office space, I have employees, and then we've now branched off into Durban, Cape Town, and Johannesburg. We are now doing some unprecedented history-making research. I can't say what it is because I don't want nobody to jump the gun just yet. We are moving in a way that, sometimes you got to move in silence until people are like, wait a minute, where'd that come from? And so there is some research that is coming out of the University of Nelson Mandela, KwaZulu-Natal University, out of Durban, that we're about to change the game in Africa. We're about to give Africa its own voice. And then Lagos, Nigeria is our political hub, which is insane to me, but it is. Nigeria, I fell in love with Lagos, just so you know. Exactly. I did.
Wow, an amazing lady. What is your degree in?
Yeah. So chemistry, then biochemistry, cell development. And then when I met my father, I knew ministry was the direction I was supposed to go. So my PhD is in theology and philosophy. My father, I didn't know I was a PK all this time, but I always had this thing for ministry. I always had this love for God.
One end of the spectrum, people who are generally introverts, to to the whole other end of the spectrum.
Yes.
Wow.
And but see, I'm an ambivert. So I have both sides to me. So trust me, I have to be pushed to do this work, especially getting on things like this. People don't know there was a shy component. A prophet in Zambia helped me. She said, don't say that. You got a mouth. You got a powerful mouth. Be careful what you say. So there was this place of shyness in me growing up. Most people don't recognize this Torri.
Wow. Dr. Torri J. Evans-Barton, you have some stats on your website. If you got time, I want to share
Okay.
some data that you put on your website.
Okay.
Why we do what we do. 1 out of 3 children grows up without their biological father in the home. Fatherless creates emotional, psychological, spiritual, and financial issues, resulting in negative outcomes. You goes on to put 20 times more likely to have a behavior disorder, 5 times more likely to commit suicide, 32 times more likely to run away, 10 times more likely to abuse a chemical substance, 20 times more likely to end up in prison. Talk about that research, that data.
See, here are the challenges that many single mothers have issues with. Well, my baby is just fine, and my you get that a lot, but we're ignoring the emotional components. Yes, your child is high achieving at school; they get all A's, they're this and that. But what is the emotional implications of not having your father present? A lot of us think, because we grew up in a single parent home, well, maybe my dad didn't want me. Maybe my dad didn't want to be bothered. But when you look at the statistics, it is playing out in our lives, in our community. When you say you are 20 times more likely to end up in prison, well, what's the reason? What does that look like? Some of these individuals are, let me tell you a story. And this one was really interesting to me because it was my first time making the connection. I remember a woman calling me and she said, I have a girlfriend who really needs to talk to you. Her son is constantly getting in trouble. And recently he took a gun to school. Well, why would a little kid take a gun to school? So we began to have more conversations about his father. His father was in prison. And what we learned from that conversation was this young man, 15 years old, had the thought process, a young mind, right? Thinking, if I get in trouble, I'll end up in prison with my father.
Wow.
Right. How did you get so my job as a little kid is to try to get in trouble because I want to end up in the same place my father is so I can spend time with him. The chances of that happening are very slim, but that's a child's mind. And so we watch children get in trouble. Maybe the behavioral disorder is mental and it's a mental health issue, but maybe it's an attention seeking thing. I'm looking for attention because I'm not getting it at home. And the only time I get attention is when I'm in trouble. So moms need to start really paying attention to some of the things that are happening to their children from the inside and not just saying, oh, they get straight A's at school. When we think about children running away or children who are in a situation where they have, let's say, one of the things is like suicidal thoughts. Why are they having suicidal thoughts? What is the issue behind that? Some of that is a lack of protection of a father in the home and lack of validation. They're being bullied at school. I don't believe people know that 80% of bullies come from fatherless homes. I don't think people know that 83% of individuals who are in sex trafficking come from fatherless homes.
Yeah.
We have to really recognize the ills that this particular thing is creating. We're not attacking single mothers, but we have to recognize as a woman, as a single mother, there's only so much you can do. You can't be mother and father. You can't take on all the roles and make sure your children are okay. You need to give them surrogate parents, like, coaches, mentors, just individuals in the church who can be there in a supplemental way until the father is ready to step up. And I'm going to say that in that way. I do not believe that stepfathers and coaches and all that are intended to be the child's father, because there is something that only a father can give his children, and that's information on their DNA.
Wow.
Only he can do that.
Wow. Have you faced resistance from any of the women?
Come on. Did you really ask that question?
I just want to know. There might not. Some people have been happy that the kids found their fathers, or
Absolutely. There's tons of resistance. If you could see my inbox sometimes, the hate mail that I get from women.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. I wish you would die. I hope yes. I'm gonna just say it that way. Yes, I'm telling too much.
Why would they? Why is they're resistant? Don't the mother want the kids to know?
No.
Who their fathers?
No.
You're just like that. No, they don't want to know.
She said that flat out. Like, she didn't hesitate with that answer.
No. No, all women don't want their children to know who the father is. You get this pushback. Well, I've been here all this time, and why him now? He hasn't done anything for you. You know, it's that. No offense to my mother, but I got that from my own mother.
Wow.
I got that from my own cousins. How dare you? What do you mean? You don't know your father either. Shouldn't you go look?
Wow.
So you have to understand that this is, society has set it up where, especially within our community, they have, my dog is making all this noise in the background for
we
whatever
don't hear him. He good. We don't hear
you
him.
don't, okay, good. Society has set it up where we're not supposed to have our fathers. Think about it. We're not. And so mothers have become very comfortable being the head of the household, very comfortable being a single mom. And my word to them is, don't you want a break?
Yeah.
Can't, like, there's a break that you need, because it's breaking them down most emotionally and mentally as well. A lot of single mothers don't realize they have mental health injuries. They have mental health challenges, that they're bipolar, they're depressed, they have anxiety, they have PTSD, and they can't address those things being a full-time parent in the way that they've been. And sometimes being a full-time parent in the way that they are and have been is what has literally split themselves in ways that they can't. How do you recover? How do I go to therapy? A lot of them weren't even able to heal their own inner childhood trauma before becoming a parent. And so now they're parenting from a place of trauma. Their father wasn't there. So why do you think they believe that a father should be present when they grew up without one?
Wow. Wow. Hello to my classmate, Pastor Tecumseh Sanders up in Tallahassee, Florida. Hello, good brother. Thank you for watching. If you got any comments, any questions you want to ask Dr. Torri J. Evans-Barton, feel free to chime in. She's a celebrity, so she only got a few more minutes, so we don't want to eat up her time. You know,
and just call me Dr. Torri J. That name is long. You get a PhD
okay.
and then you get married. It get real long. So I'm Dr. Torri J. That makes
Dr.
it real
Torri
simple.
J. All right. Big Rob, you got anything from Dr. Torri J?
Oh no, she answered it all for me.
Well,
I'm proud of her.
oh
I wish I was right there helping her with this mission.
Rob would be the perfect person to knock on the daddy's door with the kid. You know what I mean? He's that type of person. Hey, here you go. Hey, I know you've been looking for
There you go. Yeah. Got something for you to take care of.
Handle your business, champ. Do some of these fathers know that they have kids, or are some of them surprised when they find out? What?
Well, like I said, you know, most of my, I would give you 85% come from dads looking for their children, right? I might even give it a higher number than that, but they're the ones looking. I've done reunites in Africa now, and I will tell you, one of the gentlemen, he had no idea. He had no clue. He kept getting, you know how we can be. Black people are Black everywhere they are. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so they had this moment where individuals would call him and say, you know, that girl you dated in college, she has a little boy that looks just like you. And he would call and she'd say, no, it's my husband's child. And he called her 4 times over 11 years. And the 4th time, after him hearing me speak on a call, he said, I'm going to call her one more time. This is a story he told me. He said, I'm going to call her one more time and see if she tells me the truth. And she finally told him the truth. And we have walked through reuniting him with his 11-and-a-half-year-old son. And trust me, people are like, oh, that's a bad photo op, because they were expecting the military dad coming home or the dad coming out of prison. There's this embrace. But the little boy doesn't know how to embrace somebody he just found out 4 weeks ago as his dad. He's 11, but he's crying and he's working through all of the things in his mind as to why have I been dumped in the village and my siblings are raised at home with my mother and what I thought was my father. But it made sense to him at that point. He was able to make sense of it.
Did she know?
She knew.
The whole time?
What we know is by the time the little boy was 1, the husband made her take him to the village to save the marriage. So he's 11 now. You knew. Because the man realized that wasn't his kid. It didn't look like him. Yeah. So I suspect maybe she was dating 2 people and she had to pick one.
One with the most money. I get
no, you didn't just say that, did you, Dr. Torri?
I did. And I don't know if it was the one with the most money. I don't know the answer to that, but she did. No, I've seen this. She had to pick one. She had to pick one, literally. And she picked the wrong one when it came to that child. She did.
Do you think this is happening in America?
Absolutely. Have you not seen Maury? Were we 1,000% sure? I'm sorry. Let me be professional. Let me be serious.
No, yeah.
But we have to laugh because some of this is very difficult, right? And
Right.
so, no, we've seen these shows. These shows have proven to us that this is happening time and time again. And it's, I don't want to make it about blaming one person or the other. I have a good friend. I've known her 21, 22 years, and I helped her find her father last year. Well, no, it was early part of this year. We started the process last year. And one of the things she said to me was, I want both of my parents to take ownership of the part that they played in my fatherless journey. Because both parents have some inclination. Some parents, they know something, right? And her mother had told some stories along the way that didn't line up after a certain point. Okay. And so we just want each person, it's not about a blame game. We just want both of you to equally take responsibility and own the part that you played. Even if it was sleeping with the wrong person and you knew that wasn't the right person, whether that's male or female.
Exactly.
You have to tell your children, I'm sorry, please forgive me at some point in time. At some point in time, you have to.
Dr. Torri J, how do you finance this operation? You hit the lottery or something? What?
I wish. It's 5, 10s, and 20s, okay? And I mean dollars. People donate. If you saw some of the people, they donate $1. Someone donated $1 out of Detroit, and I saw it and I commented. And I said, what I recognize is you gave $1 because that was the most you had to give. And I can recognize that, and I can see that. And I sent her a personal email, and I said, I thank you for that. And she emailed me back, and she said, oh my God, thank you so much. Uh-oh, that was the lightning, the thunder and lightning.
All right.
Yeah, but $1. This woman donated $1. This was probably a month ago, out of Detroit. And I made sure when I saw it, I sent her an email, because people donate what they can because they see the benefits. And they know this is real work. That's why. As much as we want to get grants, this is not where we haven't found funding just yet for reuniting fathers with their children. There's still this stigma that maybe, what if he's abusive? What if he's a bad dude? It's always these what ifs. But my question is, what if he's amazing? What if he's human? My father was human. He wasn't amazing per se. He was human.
Wow.
He was human.
How I mean, that whole process of healing and meeting your father, did it take a long time to get to where you at right now?
Absolutely. It was awkward, right? You grow up without a man in your life. You have just a mother, and this man is speaking into your life in ways you're going, that's different. I have this thing about me that when I hear the voice of a father, I tend to cry. It's just natural. My husband has dealt with it. If he's correcting me or telling me something that's kind of hard, I just cry. It doesn't mean I'm rejecting it. It's just because I'm not used to a man speaking into my life in that way. And so we have to recognize that the journey isn't quick. The reunification is a 4-phase process. But when it comes to like paperwork, and it comes to emotional connection, but when you look at the process, sometimes people will reunite and then disconnect for 3 months or a year, and then they'll come back in. And then they'll disconnect. Now, the 8400, we don't allow that to happen. You have to ride this journey. You have to stick with it. You don't get to come in and out. But I know that I did. I know I told my father at one point, no, thank you. After reuniting with him, I was like, no, thank you. Wow. And 2 weeks after I sent that letter, I had to call him back and say, you know what? What I realized more than anything is I need to go into this without expectations. Whatever I get from you is more than what I had. And I need to figure out what it is that I need. And sometimes we would just sit in the room and not say anything and just watch his Western movies or whatever he wanted to watch at that moment. And it was the most uncomfortable 30, 45 minutes, because I couldn't stay long. I even spent the night one time and called my mother and said, you need to be here at 7 a.m. Like, I'm spending the night, but you need to be here first thing in the morning, because I don't know how, I'm not doing very well. And she showed up crack of dawn, and my dad was he called me, he was very disappointed because he wanted to spend time with me and do breakfast and all of that when we got back from this trip we went on. It's uncomfortable because it's unfamiliar. And you're working through that constantly. I had 2.5 years with my father before he died. Just so you know, it wasn't a long period before he passed on. But let me tell you what my father did for me. My father called me on a Monday, and I remember, I think it was September 15th, I believe is the date. And he called me on a Monday. He said, clear your schedule. And so I cleared my schedule to talk to him. And, you know, Monday's a busy day. So most people, yeah. And so I cleared my schedule, and he wanted to talk to me about the woman he saw me as and the woman he saw me becoming. And so when I cleared my schedule, he broke things down, told me some wrong turns I had made, told me the right turns that I made, but also told me, when you do these things, life will line up for you. That was Monday. Wednesday, he went into a coma. Sunday, he died.
Ooh.
So that was that biblical blessing that we read about when a dad speaks to his child and blesses them before he goes on. That's what I was able to get from him. And that is the very thing that fuels me even to this day. I'm able to look at the DNA test on my desk that says 99.99963%. I'm able to see that on my desk laminated and know that without a doubt, he was my father. Babe, calm down. And I'm also able to remember that particular moment when he spoke into my life and told me who he saw me becoming, told me the person that I'm supposed to be, and even how proud of me he is and was. And to have my bonus mother, my father's widow is still alive. We talk pretty much every day. And if I do something, or I'm gonna say when I do something, she'll put it on social media. Your dad said you do that. She's like the keeper of the prophecy. She's like the person who remembers the things that he said about me, the things that he said would happen in my life. She's that person. And she'll post it on social media. Your dad said you would do that.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Dr. Torri, you got a movie. You're probably working on that one too.
You got a movie? We'll
got
find
a movie. You got the whole South Side of Chicago connected with their fathers, man. This is amazing. Commend you. I'm so honored to meet you virtually. Whenever you make it to Orlando or to Muskegon, or maybe we'll meet up in Lagos. I like Lagos too. Or maybe you'll come to Dar es Salaam. I'm Dar es Salaam, 3 months out of the year. We got to connect.
Yeah.
Meet you and the family. And God knows, when I get a blessing, my next blessing, I'm blessing you.
Well, thank you. And just tell the people they can do 5, 10s, and 20s for now. If they even want to do 50s and 100s, we're okay with that. But
we'll do that. We'll do the subscription. I'm gonna do something because this is too important. I worked in the prison system for 13 years, age of 19 to 32. I worked in a women's prison, worked in a men's prison. One thing I did find, I was a psychology student at the time while I was working in prison, and they allowed me to do some research. One common denominator that you mentioned about the fatherless, and most of the people that I interviewed, none of them had a father in their life. Were using the women's prison and men's prison. Yeah. And so I can relate to that data because I had a bunch of data in front of me that I looked at and can draw that comparison. That is why I left the prison and we started a mentorship program with our radio stations in both areas. That's why we take kids to Africa for free. That's why we do so much stuff in the community, trying to counteract some of those things that are going on. So
because exposure is the thing, right? Yeah. That's the thing that will cause you to break generational curses and patterns. Exposure, knowing that this is dysfunctional, knowing that this is trauma, the exposure of that information will help you break the generational curse. But if we aren't exposed to that and we believe that, well, I just had a baby, and they're not going to have their father because I just, one time I had a woman tell me a father is an interruption to her parenting style. I said, girlfriend, what?
Yeah, I think we have normalized dysfunctional behavior.
We have. And we've put it up on a pedestal on top of that. We've normalized it and put it up on a pedestal.
That is so counteractive to our ancestors. Normalizing dysfunctional behavior, signifying it, congratulating it, and like you said, put it on a pedestal they're just going against everything that we were taught and that we
everything. Yeah. And if you look at us, because a lot of people say, oh, well, slavery did this to us. No, it didn't. I'm not a proponent of that conversation. We were still getting married during slavery in spite of potentially being killed. We were still getting married. We were still jumping the broom, right?
Right.
We have to acknowledge what took place. We were the most intact family after slavery all the way up until the 1960s. And what happened in the 1960s? The Civil Rights Movement. It was the Civil Rights Movement. And the government, unfortunately, came in and said, we got to find a way to put a halt to this middle class family, this Black middle class family that's making money, who's funding the Civil Rights Movement. And that's what they did. And they broke up the home, created welfare, and then told a woman what? You can't have a man in the house if you get this money. You get food stamps, you get housing, and you get cash, right? I think it was TANF at that point, you get cash. You can't have a man in the home. And then they monitored. So imagine one generation is raised knowing that you can't have a man in the home. And so by the second generation, you've already programmed them to say, if I need these things, I can't have a man in the home. And now we're just naturally saying it. You see social media, Black social media is insane. The division between Black men and Black women is unnecessary and unreal. And they don't realize somebody's puppeteering all of this.
And you're just thing, Doc, we need each other so much and don't realize it. We need each other so much. But hopefully we can talk to your secretary. You fit us back in. I want to have you on because you got a lot of knowledge. And shout out to Ricky Smiley and to the other talk shows who have interviewed and had you on their shows and been a part of the show. So relevant. What's the website that people need to go to make that donation?
tfgf.org. So it's the Fatherless Generation Foundation. So T as in Tom, F as in Frank, G as in George, F as in Frank.org. Or you can go to Cash App and you can do Team Reunite.
Rob, you got that?
Yes, sir.
Hey, put it in your phone, Rob. Put it in your phone while we right here, right now. Go ahead and type it up. Put it up on the screen. And so we can see if it's working, Rob. Can we do that in real time?
See if it's working. I would like that.
He's a big baller from Detroit. You know what I mean? He's a big baller from Detroit. So,
Ain't no big baller.
Hey, Detroit produces all the big ballers. I'm from Kalamazoo.
That's where they at.
That's where they at.
And he's one of them. He's one of them. All right, Dr. J, thank you so much, sister. God bless you.
Thanks for having me.
And looking forward to talking to you again.
Thank you.